Thank you. Hi, everyone. Before we begin, please click the link to the Zoom that you have under your panel. And in this way, you will be connected directly to our Zoom meeting. And this is addressed to the entire audience. If you see the Zoom link beneath the panel, please click it and join us. Yeah. Hello, Anne.
Hello, Andrei.
I'm very glad to see you.
Same for me.
I think that...
Was it a successful start this morning?
Yes, it was. And I think also that the peoples are also joining in.
Mm-hmm.
I propose that we expect maximum 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we can start. How is it back home?
Back home, I think here it's fine for me at least. Not sick. My family is not sick, and no quarantine so far. And you?
Yeah, it's quite the same.
Mm-hmm.
We are fine, but we are in not a good situation, let's say, from this point of view. We are stressed about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that in a way or another we should start.
Yes.
And I would like to welcome everybody to the session, which is called How to Capture Circularity in Our Business Models. The session will be run by a dear friend of mine. And this is another pleasure for me to introduce her. Anne VERNIQUET, which is a senior consultant of SOFIES and coach and trainer in the field of sustainability and circular innovation and circular economy. Anne is specialized in eco-innovation at scales, designing for sustainability, economics of project, business modeling, sustainable finance, bioeconomy, just to name few of the areas in which Anne is working. And this is, let's say, the official presentation, but I also had the pleasure to meet Anne and to work with Anne in one of our first projects of circular economy in Romania. Also together with a dear colleague of ours, Aida Silagi. And with that occasion, I met Anne. And it was my first contact with circular economy. And the fact that I'm now here talking about circular economy after 7 years or so, or I don't know, maybe it was 5 then, how much? It has, and the backbone of this thinking of mine that circular economy could be a solution for the future. So I wanted also to share this part with you, and I know Anne from a collaboration of about 2 years, and I think, and I'm sure that the session will be very interesting. Thank you and enjoy.
Okay, thank you a lot, Andrei. I am very pleased to be here with you. I won't be long in terms of introduction, just to say that, first of all, tell me if you cannot hear me well. I have the feeling that the connection is good, but don't hesitate to interrupt. And more generally, don't hesitate to interrupt all the time. The idea is to exchange also along this 1 hour and a half. And my objective is not to be exhaustive on circular economy or but to focus on how to capture potential circular economy based opportunities in the business model of a company. So you will see that I will travel with you through a concrete example. It's fictive, but it could be a concrete SME company, and we will try to challenge the business model together thanks to a business game which is called CircuLab, and which will allow us to challenge a little bit, question the different building blocks of the business model. You will have just a feeling and hints, because normally this kind of business game takes at least 2 to 3 hours with different members of the company. But what we will try to do together is to imagine that we are part of the same company, all of us, and we are around the table. We are not so many, so it's perfect. We are all around the table and we will participate. So we will try to do kind of business game remotely to see and to show you how it could happen, how you could do it also with partners or with company or within your company to activate circular economy. So you will see that it's rather pragmatic and not too conceptual or too complex to explain to different members of a group. So I don't know if you want to show your different, if you want to open your camera, that's also a possibility. This way we could maybe interact a little bit. It would be a little bit easier for me to exchange with you along the process, but it's up to you, huh? If you prefer.
We are here, Anne, but I think that some of our participants are in the lobby of the conference, in the room actually of the conference.
So they are together. No, no, it's
yes.
Mm-hmm. But they can talk still, huh?
I don't think so. No. They if they don't join the Zoom directly, they will not be able to participate.
Okay.
They will just have to assist.
Okay, but for instance, Christina, I can see her now. Hello. You can talk, huh? Yeah.
Yes. I am on my mobile. I will be on my computer as soon as I can. But right now, a few moments, I will be on my phone.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay. Now we see also Milan.
Milan can also talk, I imagine. Yeah. Okay.
Milan, can you hear us? I don't think so.
Milan, do you hear us? Can you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I see also Madlena. Madlena, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, and I can talk if necessary.
Yeah, you can. You will participate, sure.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. Madlena, Milan, Isabel, and Alexandra as well. Okay. Madlena, can you hear us? Yeah. Okay. So let's start this way. I can share my screen. So I will share. Can you see my screen? Yes? Okay, so just a short introduction on this methodology to activate the circular economy. So basically, why did SOFIES is not using only this approach? Huh? It's just to focus. I use this today, but more generally, we are dealing with sustainability within organization. It could go from life cycle assessment to non-financial reporting, etc. But obviously today we focus on something which is the CircuLab game and how this methodology can be useful for you. But even if you don't have the business game, you can still be inspired by this approach, I believe, and deploy some first elements within your organization. So we use it at SOFIES, first of all, because it's really interactive, you will see, and it's a good way to facilitate a strategic workshop within organization. It's really collaborative based on the intelligence of the collectivity. And it enables also to move from an idea to an implementation phase. So it's a kind of agile approach. So I don't say more, it's a network for you to know. I don't know if there are already experts in Romania. I could have a look after the meeting if you want, because there could be that some experts in Romania are also using this business game and can dispense it or use it in your company or in your organization. So this is something I can have a look at after this intervention. So what does it allow in a few words? You will see that we will look at the baseline, let's say, the business model of the company, the current status, and then we generally discuss with the managers or the people who are in charge of challenging the business model, and we try to identify either sectorial issues or more generally an external trigger that is really important in their sector, like something related to regulation, for instance, or the fact that they are using scarce resources and it's a challenge for them in the long term. These kind of elements are triggers. You will see how we use this trigger in the business game. So, but more generally, it can also be used, and I did it a lot in several companies, and it was always really, first of all, a great pleasure for the people, but also for me to see how it can raise awareness about circular economy and bring bottom-up ideas in a company, because you take people from the different departments together, and along the game, they already said, okay, oh, I learned a lot about my colleagues. That's the first point. And then they challenged together some elements of the business model. So this is really interesting also from this point of view. We could see it as a training tool as well. So which could be combined with specific topics on thematics, training on a thematic, for instance. So this is the idea. You will see that in this demo, I have imagined a case for you. It's a fictive case, but it could be potentially a real company. So like I said to you, today we have 7 or 7 people around the table, and you all have knowledge. So these are these points. And the idea is not only to have your knowledge alone, but really to exchange about this knowledge, valorize it along and create links between your knowledge, let's say, valorize it collectively so that we can reach a nice business model at the end. So this is really the mindset, and very important. Everybody is as important as the other. It means that, for instance, from different experiences I had, people from administrative departments, for instance, were really as much useful as the director of or the manager, operational manager, or the CFO. It's really important to consider everyone in this process if we want to have the best out of it, let's say. But this is the ideal case. In reality, we never have the ideal case is rarely possible, but this is the mindset behind. Let's try to build upon this collective intelligence to break the silos. And basically, you all know that we are still globally in what we call a linear economy, where we consider that raw materials are infinite in a way, and that we can submit to the environment household waste, industrial waste in an unlimited way. So this is still 90% of our economy, let's say. And the idea with this game is obviously to challenge the business model of the company, to go from this picture to this picture, but not to change everything, more to see it as opportunities, new potential business opportunities as well. For instance, you can challenge your products in terms of design to make sure that you designed for reuse or for repairing, for easy repairing, for instance, or for easy remaking, remanufacturing, for easy recycling, obviously, etc. So we look at the design stage a lot in this approach. You will see more concretely in a while. So this should be seen as an opportunity. It's not only a cost to go from here to here. It can be seen as opportunities, and you can go slowly but surely. It doesn't mean you change everything in your company. You can have like a spin-off or an innovation team in a way, which is looking at these opportunities, and then you see how it grows and how it changes the mindset of your company. Don't hesitate to ask a question if you have any question. I have a question for you to make sure we interact, because it's difficult for me otherwise to speak in front of my computer. So who said this sentence according to you? I read it now and try to think who could have said that. So picking up and reclaiming the scrap left over after production is a public service, but planning so there will be no scrap is a higher public service. Do you have an idea of a personality who could have said that? I give you a hint. It's more than 100 years ago.
And
yes,
I have a proposal for you, and I'm trying to bring more people into the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
It seems that we have lots of people which are trying to enter, but they can. Maybe do you have any option to allow people in your Zoom?
On my side, you mean?
Yeah, yes.
I could do that. Let me just check if there is somebody in the room. But they are already accepted, apparently. I stop sharing.
Okay. So basically what you need to do...
I have 12 persons in it already, but it looks like they are in the Zoom. Huh?
Yes, it looks like they are still in the room, in the conference room. But the idea is that if you look for a Zoom link directly in the mirror, I mean in the screen of the room.
Sorry for interrupting.
Yes.
Yeah, but for me, everybody seems to be in the Zoom. I cannot accept anyone because it's not me who launched the Zoom, Andrei.
All the people that were in the waiting room are now in.
Okay, so now everybody is in.
And I think everybody can talk and can show, can show his face if they want. Huh? Isabel, for instance, can you hear us? Or can you speak just to test?
Yes, I can hear. I can hear.
Yeah. So I think everyone can react then. So who do you think could have said that? Maybe you have seen the name because
okay. I just wanted to try to fix this if we have this problem. Now I think we can move back and
yeah.
So
okay.
For interrupting.
No problem, Andrei. So who could have said that according to you? Maybe you showed the name a few seconds ago. It's in the automobile sector, a sector that is important in Romania. Nobody has an idea?
Well, then I know if it's important in Romania and if it's from the automotive sector.
Okay, Milan.
Is it someone high on the level in the Renault group?
It's not a Romanian actually. It's a famous American. You will find
that is Henry Ford.
Yes, Henry Ford, exactly. But why did I put it? Because for me it's the date mostly which is important. I already said this sentence in 1926, so it means 100 years ago about. So it's interesting to see that this kind of thinking, designing for avoiding scrap in a way, eco-designing, and in a way making also the business model circular because everything is linked, is not new actually. It comes back, it's a buzzword now, but it was already a topic since a while. And just to make sure we we feel how it is important. It's the design stage can determine up to 80% of the product's costs and environmental impacts. And both can be linked. Generally, they are opposed. People think that environmental improvements relates or requires new costs or new investment, etc. But it's not necessarily the case if we think from the start at the design stage in terms of eco-design. So this topic today is really intertwined. Capturing circular economy opportunities in the business model relates also to eco-designing for me. It's really interlinked. So I show you now, and then we will jump into a mural. I will show you another screen, which will be interactive, and you will be able to play in a way or make as if you were playing physically. But now I show you the board, which is the basis of the business game. Generally, when we do it physically, we have 6 people around the table, and this board in the middle, like a playing board. And it's a board that has been designed based on the business model Canva. That's probably most of you knows or have heard of. It's a very used tool in companies to describe business models. But this business model, the usual one, has been completed with different building blocks that you will see, and which relates to the usage of the resources, how we can use in a better way raw materials, water, energy, etc. And it enables also to display what we believe as a company are our positive or negative external impacts, not necessarily financially, but also socially and environmentally. So this is a little bit more holistic business model Canva, let's say. But it's inspired from the very used and very well-known business model Canva. So to come back to the eco-design, I show you the board, and in it I have tried to underline what does it mean eco-designing. So if we want to eco-design a product or a service, obviously it should appear in the value proposition. It means the value you bring to your user, your context. Users are always in a context. So the offer, the product or the service must be eco-designed, as well as its use, very important, the use phase. When your consumer are using the product, it can be more or less impactful depending on how you have designed it. So eco-design, as well as the uses, but also anticipation of the end of life of the products. It's the building block which is called upcycling. Also the way you promote and distribute your products or services. But also on the left side of the business model Canva, you have the resources that you need to provide your value proposition to your users. So you need natural resources, technical resources, energy resources, and all this should be also carefully think of from the start. But also the way you use the human resources in a way, what are the activities that you internalize, the key activities, and what are the activities that you externalize. So the choice of your partner is also key from the start if you want to really eco-design a product. And what is new also compared to the usual business model Canva is that we come back to the essence of your company. What is your mission? For instance, it means that if you eco-design well your value proposition, it's to ensure the response to a fundamental need. For instance, the mission of a car provider is the same mission than a train company. Their mission is to move you from a point A to a point B, but they don't do it the same way. One is providing a car, individual car, one is providing a trade. So the value proposition is different, but their mission is a little bit similar. So this is just to illustrate the difference between a fundamental mission and a value proposition. And then you can see, obviously, to deliver this value proposition to your users, you need to make sure it's financially manageable and feasible. So you have the revenue streams here and the costs, the main costs, which are described. So obviously you should ensure the viability of the model, because eco-designing, if it's not viable, it's not worth it. I think it won't work, except if there are specific framework conditions like very strong subsidies from the government or so on. But as a private company, everything should be linked. And in this business model Canva, you see also above what we call the environmental and social externalities. So you can try to describe in keywords what are your positive impacts and what are your negative impacts. And each time you think by column, when I do these activities with these partners, what are my impacts? When I use these natural resources, technical resources, energy resources, what are my impacts? So it enables you to ask the right question and to deconstruct your business model in an easy and visual way. So this is what we will use in the second part of this exchange. So I show you now the fictive case, and then we can jump into the mural link. Here I go quickly, because it's when we play physically, we have obviously, like in any workshops, and it's valuable also online. It's no censor. Every idea is good, so don't hesitate to propose idea in the second part of this exchange. And generally we write in capital letter, etc. But here it's just a hint. So the practical case, fictive case, I called it Meublio. So it's a company which is called Meublio. And what are they doing? It's an easy example, so that everyone can feel it. It's very practical and easy to understand company. So they provide bed and furniture for children. It's made in Switzerland, and it's flat pack, ready to set up. So it's a company who is providing furniture for children. And their users or their clients are young parents, mostly living in cities. They distribute their bed and furniture for children via Meublio shops and also via internet. So classical business model, let's say. They use wood, different forms of wood. It could be natural wood, it could be composite wood, etc. They have not really focused on one typology of wood. They use cheap jewelry, machines, fabrics, varnish, glues, like I would say like a business as usual in this field. And they need electricity and oil, electricity for their plants, of production plants, obviously, and also different kinds of thermal energy to heat the company. In Switzerland, we need to heat in winter, for instance, like you as well. Yeah. Key activities, they do some production, they design, they produce, they market, distribute. And what they externalize, they don't have forest, for instance, they externalize the raw material production. So they buy the raw material, the wood, basically, the different form of woods and the different technical resources, they buy it. And they also externalize some part of the logistic. So this is how they work today. Their mission, it's a little bit higher level, if we want. It's to create a better everyday life for many people, for their children, for the parents, etc., for the families. They have not, as you see in the upcycling building block, I have written nothing. So it means that today they don't do specific things. They don't have a specific strategy. It means that when the furniture is sold, they don't know exactly what it comes at the end of its life. It's the people themselves who are managing the end of life of the products. The revenues are very classical. It's product sales. And the main costs, let's say, are obviously the wages, fabrication wages, first typology of cost, energies, raw materials. and transport. So these are the main costs, and second typology of cost, advertising is also a source of cost. So these are in keywords, we stay qualitative at the first level. The idea now you will see is more an ideation phase, and then obviously in subsequent stages you can bring figures, but the idea is not to bring figure at this stage. In terms of externalities, we have analyzed their current business model. And what is really positive is that they really focused historically to hire local producer, and create local jobs. It means that they work only with partners in a surrounding area, and they don't buy wood that travels a lot. So this is something that was embedded in the mindset of the company since already a long time. So this is important to say it. And in terms of negative impacts, they are really doing as usual. It means that they have not yet defined, for instance, a strategy to decarbonize the energy that is used in their business model. So they pollute like a lot of companies. They emit greenhouse gases during the production steps. They emit different kinds of wastes along the different columns of the business model during the activities, when they buy, during the supply stage, and also when they distribute. So in a nutshell, they have business as usual business model, and they have not yet think at resolving this kind of negative impacts. They have no strategies yet. So this is the context of this company. And now I will go into, do you have any question at this stage before I move to the mural link? Don't hesitate, huh? Everything all right? Yes.
Yeah.
You can hear me well, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
So now I will share the mural link then. Share screen. I think it is this one. So you should be able to see a mural link. It's normal that you don't see anything yet in it, apart some names, fictive names on the right. So imagine it's you on the table. Huh? You could be called Joanna, Alice, Camille, Marianne, but it's you, basically, member of this Moblio company. And now I will show you again the circular canvas. Can you see it?
I don't see the link. Did you send it in the chat?
No, but I shared the screen. Huh?
Yes.
Can you see the mural?
Screen, yes.
Yeah, okay, it's the mural. I could have shared the link, but I didn't know how many you would be in front of me. But imagine that if you had the link, you could be able to manage yourself to stick different post-its, etc. But to make it easier, because it's a short time frame, let's do it interactively, and when you have ideas, I will stick them for you in the business model Canva. But now I will guide you. Let's do as if we were in a way doing the business game, but in a little bit quicker than usual, let's say, to make it simple. So I already presented you the business model, let's say the baseline of this Moblio company, and you are the managers, you are all members of this company. And now I will show you a scenario. The scenario generally is defined with one person of the company. It could be designed together based really on something that is a problem for the company and they want to solve it. In this case, I created a scenario for you. So this scenario is there. So the producer you see it on the scenario?
Yes.
So I read it for you. So the producer extended responsibility pair is more and more demanding that old furniture have to be retrieved. Your directors ask you to consider this new regulation in order to rethink the store experience. So in a nutshell, we have here a scenario. As I told you in the introduction, the scenario is a trigger. It's something that, it's difficult for you. You have to manage this. How can we do it? And how can we transform this challenge in an opportunity? And this one is really linked to a new regulation. It's in this fictive case. It means that we have to challenge mostly and anticipate from the design stage the end of life of our products, which was not the case because, as you see in the baseline, next use, nothing to say so far for this company. So now to answer to this challenge, we could say, okay, let's try to have a brainstorming together. But with this business game, we have a kind of guided process, and you will have some cards. The cards, they are designed this way. I can show you one. I will show you a few examples of cards, and we will try to do the exercise. So I show you one card, for instance, the first one. This one, you see here 6 spaces. So if you were 6 around the table, each of you, I could have designed, for instance, Isabel is there, Tirana is there, Milan is there in this space, and you will have your own cards. So it means that you don't have the same cards than the others, and it will generate different kinds of ideas. So we mixed all these ideas together, as you will see, and then at the end of the process, some ideas will be opposites or some ideas can be complementary, and you start to think in terms of strategy together. So this is what we will try to do together. So let's have a look at the first question. So this is always designed this way, a card. It's a what if question. So what if we change something in a way, if I summarize it. So in this case, it's what if we provided a repair service for our products? So you can see that the questions are designed based on either economic aspects or circular economy opportunities, etc. So it triggers ideas. What I always emphasize in the instruction in this game is that it should not be, you should not copy paste this idea to your business model, but it should trigger ideas. But you open your mind, maybe the idea that will come up in your mind is not related in relation with repairing services. It can be completely another idea, just to trigger ideas. And here you have an example. For instance, the group SEB now designs its products so that they can be repaired while keeping spare parts available for 10 years. And the small pictograms that you see above show which part of the business model could be potentially affected by this kind of ideas. So you find it again here, the pictograms here. Okay. So let's go back to the, to the picture. So try to think, you have in mind the business model of Meublio. Try to think and write down 1 or 2 ideas, each of you, on what would be your idea to challenge your business model when you have this card. Imagine you are the player with this card. So you can note down. I let you 1-2 minutes just to, generally we leave 5 minutes alone. Everyone is thinking alone first. It's really important in terms of dynamics for the collective intelligence, and then we bring back the ideas together. So try to think alone 1 minute, let's say. So think again at the business model. The scenario, don't close yourself with the scenario so far. We will come back to the scenario in a while. You keep it in mind, but not too much. And the business, oh, it has moved. Okay, your business model, you remember this business model mostly. What could you change using this card?
I will try to start then.
Yes.
And I was having this idea that if we take this responsibility to repair the products, then we have to be smart about it and think how to do it more easily.
How to, sorry, I couldn't hear the end of your sentence.
How to do it more easily.
Yeah. So to design, yeah, then to think in terms of design as well.
So how are we going to design the process of repairability in that way that it's going to be easy for us to do it?
Okay, so I write your ID and then I will stick them. I need a process so that over IDs. So design, for instance, if I take this one, designing the process so that it is easily applicable. Repairable and applicable. Does anyone have another ID? I'm sure you have. Huh?
Or mapping the actors that could potentially repair this service, these products.
Mapping the actors. Yeah, who could be partners, huh?
Yeah.
So for instance, it means when we catch the IDs of the team, then we use the, obviously it's easier physically, but remotely we can still stick in the different subpart of the business model where it is the most relevant, let's say. Generally, it's not only one building block of the business model which is impacted by one ID, but what is the building block the most impacted, let's say. Here would be the partners. And with your ID, I would say the design stage, mostly for the idea of Andrei. Do you have any other ideas, the others?
First of all, I don't know if it is good, but first of all, I think if it makes sense to fix it, unless the repair costs are higher than the acquisition cost.
Yeah. So what do you change in your business model to make sure it is the case? Because you have this regulation coming, so you will have to manage these costs anyhow.
I don't know exactly what to do next, but I think.
So I think it's linked to what Andrei said. We should design everything, the product, but also the processes from the start. It means from here, the left side of the business model, to make sure that the end of life is easier for us. So, and the cost thinking obviously can be and should be included also in this mindset. So for me, the main change would be in this design stage, key activities. The designer will have a lot of work in a way in the team to make sure that we can repair easily, that the process to get the furniture back is also optimized, etc. The logistics. So we don't enter, as you see in this phase, we don't enter into the how exactly. The how would be, we have different tools for the how. It's really the what could we do? It's really ideation. Even if it's not completely easy to see how we could do, because then it becomes a project and we enter into a project setting, agile process where we test, etc., like in entrepreneurship. But now it's really how can we challenge in a drastic way our business model. So it's good. So I show you a few examples of cards. This way you will see the different typologies of topics which are described or questioned in the cards. For instance, in this second card, we have what if the product could be used for other purposes at the end of its life cycle? So this is another mindset. Again, example, IKEA hackers, an informal movement was set up around IKEA products to divert, reuse, and improve them. So this is only an example. And maybe this idea, again, this question can trigger completely other ideas in your mind. Don't hesitate to welcome ideas. So take 1 minute again. This can generate a lot of ideas, I suppose. Imagine really that you are in this company. You have to challenge this business model, but it's your business model.
Anna, can we just repeat what is the company and product, because we have new participants, so maybe just to include them.
Okay, yes, so I represent briefly the company. So the company we are dealing with is a company called Meublio. They produce bed furniture for children. It's made in Switzerland in flat pack. It's ready to set up. Their clients are young parents living in cities mostly, but globally families. They distribute their furniture via shops, Meublio shop, physical shops and internet. And they use as resources to produce their value proposition wood, different forms of wood, different technical resources like cheap jewelry, fabric, varnish, glues, different kinds of energy. It's not renewable energy necessarily, it's more the grid energy. Key activities, they do the design, the production, the marketing, they distribute as well, they manage the distribution. And they have key partners for the raw material, the wood, mostly the different kinds of woods, and for the logistics. Here below, you can see the revenue streams. It's mostly product sales and the different typologies of main costs, mostly the wages and raw material costs. And in terms of externalities, they have positive externalities and negative externalities. The main positive externality they have is a social one. They work a lot historically with local producers, they create a lot of local jobs. And their negative impact is usual. They produce lots of greenhouse gas emission because they have not yet thought at decarbonizing the energy, for instance, or they have not yet eco-designed their products, and they generate also a lot of waste along the different columns, when they receive the raw material, when they produce, and at the end of life also when people buy, there is a lot of packaging extra, like business as usual, I would say. We have not yet think at different kind of next use, what could be done after the end of life of the products. And now this business model is challenged via different questions that we are asking ourselves thanks to different cards. And we try to answer to a scenario like we have to pitch to the director of this company. We are like a team of manager or different departments, and we should answer this scenario. The producer extended responsibility is more and more demanding, that old furniture have to be retrieved, and your directors ask you to consider this new regulation in order to rethink the store experience, but not only, to rethink your business model so that the store experience of your clients is different, and so that you can cope with this new regulation. Otherwise, you will have waste management costs because of this new regulation. So we try to think differently, and to help us think differently, we have different kinds of questions. For instance, now we are trying to use this card as a trigger to think differently and find new ideas and challenge our business model. So it's, what if the product could be used for other purposes at the end of its life cycle? And we have an example with IKEA, but the idea is now that you think 1 minute alone to find ideas that we can write on Post-its and bring into our business model. Mostly here, what could be the next use? What could you do? And the next use doesn't mean that you think only at the end of life of your product. You very probably have to think in terms of design. What do you do differently in this left part of your business model to make sure that the end of life is easily manageable? So try to think, and maybe we will write 1 or 2 ideas for these questions. Maybe some of you have already some ideas.
Well, for instance, we can maybe pile or stripe this wood that is after the life of a bed in order to create some smaller objects. Most, I don't know why, in my mind it's pencils, but I mean pencils, yeah. But I mean it can be so many other things. Yeah.
So Second Life, you divide it into many smaller new objects in a way, based on. So again, we don't enter into the how exactly. So probably it will need, for instance, new machines, new logistics, etc. But the how, we don't focus on it. So I would stick your idea here. Another idea in another field. If you think in terms of design, what could be done to make sure that at the end of life, we can plan different lives, second life, third life for your products? What could be?
The materials should be resistant.
So design for resistance in a way, yeah?
In order to facilitate long-term usage.
Long-term reuse. Yes?
Just a second. I want to invite our viewers to join our Zoom. So please click on the message you received on the platform, upper right, and there is the Zoom link. So you can join us in this session. This what I want to say. Thank you.
There are still people joining, you know? I don't see everyone, so, okay, yeah, I see that we are more than at the start. Okay, so this is a good, yeah, another idea. So designing for resistance to facilitate, you know, what could be also done in terms of design, which is really trendy, used by a lot of business models now to make sure that we facilitate the reusage in terms of design also. Any idea? But it can come later. It will come probably in a while. So let's try another card just to show you. 1, 3, 1, 3. Yes. Example of another card. So what if we involve the client in a cause? So this is a little bit more a social aspect, let's say, or social trigger. Ecosia, for instance, is a search engine that dedicates all of its profits to reforestation projects to capture as much carbon as possible. So this is an example only, but what could you do? What does it trigger in terms of ideas for you as managers of Mobilio in this context of new regulation, let's say? What could you do? What kind of ideas does it generate? Take 1 minute again. I think it's important to always think your business model. How could it be? How could this card be? Yeah, source of ideas for you. Any ideas popping up?
I think I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's about donating or maybe related with donations.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking that if the customer returns the product to the company, then they will donate it for free to someone who needs it.
Yep. CSR actions like donation or etc. It could be to different organizations which become partners. Huh? Okay. Yeah. So this is typically kind of new value proposition, according to me, because it can be it's something new for your clients. Huh? They can this also. They know that it will be scrapped at the end. Everything is linked, but I think it's really a new value proposition for your clients. Any other ideas on this topic, as it's linked also to the forest? What could be ideas related to circular economy? Because the raw material comes mostly from the forests surrounding the company. Any suggestions, any ideas? There are no bad ideas, huh? So,
well, you can, for instance, invite customers to somehow to replenish the sources of wood and integrate them in your design process, for instance. Make the bed from your own tree, take care of this, or something like that.
Yeah, if they buy a product, they replenish the equivalent of raw material in a way. It could be an option. Yes, this is an example. So we can stick it either, oops. Either in the partner zone, because you need you need partners to replenish the raw material. Let's say you work in close collaboration with different providers locally, or we could add your ideas in the value proposition again, because it's like a new options for your clients. What could be done also, maybe in terms of design again? I think because you remember in the introduction, I said that the design stage can impact very largely your impacts economically and also your positive and negative externalities on the environment. What could be done to make sure that you have a very closed loop in your business model? So you work here, you provide the value proposition, and then you make sure you have a long use phase, for instance. You enlarge the use phase. What could be done to enlarge the use phase?
In relationship with the relations that we have with our customers, or involving them in the cause?
No, not necessarily. More
okay.
Related to the design stage. Yeah.
Okay.
So as a business model, you can invite also customers to, or create some kind of a platform for sharing after use, but not really in the design stage.
Platform for sharing, so it's more, like a
value proposition,
like a value proposition to manage the end of life between themselves in a way, like interesting as well.
Or you can open a more open dialogue with them and explain them the importance of sharing or passing by the product from family to family, from friends to friends, and so on.
Yeah.
Also invite them to use different materials if you think, if it's more sustainable. Inform them about the effects of different materials and call them to choose in this design stage by their suiting, but making it obvious what kind of decisions from their side are affecting the life cycle of the product and their life cycle impacts.
Exactly.
So
very good idea.
You want metals, great, this is the impact. You want wood, what type of wood? Okay, this is the life cycle of this wood, this is the impact, we need this kind of chemicals. Or
yeah, so an open dialogue based on awareness raising with also with rationals, like comparative impacts of material, the fact that it's monomaterial versus maybe okay, yeah,
blended,
very interesting.
Yes.
Very blended. But maybe so this is, in this case, you keep in your business model all the options possible and you ask the consumer to choose. What could be another option is to maybe completely revise the way you design and to go for instance, today you use glues, you use varnish. We all know that the more you have products in a product, the more you have elements in a product, the more it is complicated to manage at the end of life. So it could also be that you make some drastic choice in terms of design. But yeah, this could be linked or progressive as well with this awareness raising.
Or if your machines are, if your machines are, yeah, that depends on the infrastructure of a company, but you can also invite them to bring their own furniture. You rearrange it into some new types, maybe. From their beds, old beds, maybe you can create chairs or something like that, or at least some kind of boxes for storage. So they are part of the design, but also part of the return loop.
Yeah.
And you're actually getting resources for free and making something that you can sell.
Yeah. So it means that you should be very strong in terms of design and remanufacturing, but it's a very good idea. Yeah. Return loop, new products. Okay, this is really a value proposition for your client, because they know that they don't have in a way to manage the end of life themselves anymore. You can also design, I think it was part a little bit of your idea, Milan, designing for modularity.
Yeah.
And it means that the modules can be reused. If it's resistant, they can be reused in many kinds of furniture. So you have a broader range of products possibly, and you reuse the same kind of raw material. So you have like a sharing of the efficiency per unit of material is really higher. Modularity, I think it's really something that would be disruptive in this compared to the baseline in this business model. So maybe to test like in a spin-off setting first and see if it works with the clients in a pilot approach. Yeah, I show you just for yes.
I was thinking also that you can sell the service, not the product, and that just take back the product at the end of the life. Based on how much time was used, for example, and you can sell basically the time of usage. A way of creating some economical value also.
Yeah, very interesting.
And then you take care of it. Exactly.
Servicing. So you switch from a product-oriented business model to a servicing business model. Yeah.
Because we all know that the one of the problems is that what are you doing with that kind of furniture after your children are growing up?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's sometimes an issue.
Yeah. Very interesting. Also very probably interesting to answer to this scenario. Because you have the maintenance, you manage the product in a way, so you don't have an end of life until you decide to have an end of life for the products. Very interesting. Just to show you, we can also sometimes, to trigger more creativity, we can give you a specific temper or character. Like for instance, for Joanna, it's a fictive name, but she could be, or sometimes the characters are very well known. For example, you could be Albert Einstein during this game, and you have different aspects, like you are focusing mostly on the human and technological aspects. So you put yourself in the head of this character in a way during the business game, and you try to bring new ideas. So it's a bit challenging, not easy, but this is something that can be done during the business game also. So you can change your mind for a while and see what it generates as new ideas. Let's try another cards, and then we can go to the next phase of the business game. So generally, this phase of ideation lasts, I would say, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours. We can have 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds of cards, depending on the dynamic of the group, depending on the needs of the company. But it gives you an idea only today. Character, for instance, this another cards. I show you an example of cards. Oh, sorry. What if the price was a function of the customer's involvement? So very interesting, because it's more related to the model of pricing. So what could be ideas for you? What if the price was a function of the customer's involvement? For instance, self-serve garages allow clients to repair their car with the help of a professional at a reduced cost. It means that if the client wants to repair to support the professional into repairing the cars, they get a reduced cost. So I don't know if it's easy to implement for security reason, this example, but it gives you an idea. What could be ideas in the frame of the Meublio business model?
That's quite tricky because we are talking about children here, the final user. And
but you can also challenge this. It could be that you want to target a broader audience, not only children. What could you do? What could be ideas, for instance, based on this principle? So I remember, what if the price was a function of the customer's involvement? It's linked to ideas you already have. It could be linked, at least. It could generate ideas linked to your previous ideas.
so maybe you can have something like 2 or 3 price alternatives. The most cheaper one would be that the customer will return the product, and he will somehow or in a way engage in this. And the most expensive one would be in an option in which he doesn't want to bother with returning the product.
Yeah, so it would be a price alternatives based on the end of life management and how they are implied in it as consumer. Interesting. So this is price is linked to this next use building block. Along the same token, we could also imagine that maybe the price could be linked to their involvement into the design with you. If you agree to imply the customers into the design phase, if it's really modular, maybe you can have something fun like an application. They can use it with you. And so the further they go, maybe the less the price is. I don't know. It's an option also.
Could be an idea combined with other ideas.
Exactly. Other ideas from the others? Even if it's not linked to the cards, if you have any ideas to challenge this business model, it's welcome. So let's go to, I think it gave you already an hint. I won't go into deep, maybe I show you a few other cards, but just to show you, for instance, what if the product was composed of modules? So this is already an idea we evoked. Example, what if we adapted the offer to another type of customer? So you can see through the different, and this is only a selection of cards, but we can have like 100 cards if we want. But we try to select also depending on the scenario and what is really important in the sector.
Anne?
Yes?
Can we say that in a way the cards represent the options that we have in front of us?
In a way, it represents, it's inspired by the principle of circular economy and industrial ecology. And it's really based on sustainability aspects in terms of the three pillars, social, environmental, and economic. So these principles, operational principles, have been translated into questions in a way. And this triggers ideas, but you are semi-guided in a way, but sometimes it triggers ideas completely different also. So it's a combination of environmental methodology, ideation methodology, and the business model Canva, which is revisited in a way, all together. But you can also imagine using only the, which I recommend, only the Canva in a company. The Canva is available freely online. This one I will give, I have given the link in the presentation. This can be used even without cards if we want. You can challenge yourself, you can create scenario, you can put different kinds of targeted questions depending on the needs of the company. So you can really customize it, use the board as a board, and you can use it with cards or not. It depends on the need. Really customizable, but the mindset is there. Yes, you're right. It's a combination of different methodologies to guide the thinking.
Embedded already in different, let's say, options or something like. So all the thinking is already embedded in that questions and like directions that we can take.
Yeah, exactly. In a way, it's like principles that could be operationalized in your company, and then you adapt it to your case, or you eliminate it if it's not relevant. And the first idea is you use as much ideas, you create as many ideas as possible, and as soon as you have many ideas on the board, so it can be sometimes really full of colors, you have to select in a way. What is now the red thread? What is the strategy we want to pitch in a way to the directors? Because now we come back to the scenario. Let's do it now. Now we come back really to the scenario, and we have to answer to this question. What do you propose as a team of managers to your directors? And for that, we use generally a support, which is simply a memo card. It helps us write down our ideas and synthesize in a way. So what we try to do with the teams, imagine you are around the table with, you discuss, you use the different post-its you had on the board, and you start to think and discuss together to say, okay, this ideas is really the starting point of our red thread. Generally, somebody gives an idea. For instance, if Andrei say, I think we absolutely need to design based on modularity, because it will help us at the end of the life of the product to do this, to do that, to do that. And based on this idea, the team discuss, challenge. You can stick out different post-its if they are not relevant anymore. If the team thinks, no, it's not feasible, we don't take it. And then you write down your solution with bullet points, let's say, and then you challenge again your solution through the four lenses of what we call smart design. It's basically business, nature, technology, social, if we want. So is it viable, or what will our board of directors say globally? What should we pitch? What are our arguments in terms of business? In terms of circularity, what can we prove? How is it circular? In terms of organization, is it really a challenge to put it into place, or is it manageable? Because if it's too complex to implement, then it will be challenged again. And socially, what are the impacts? So we come back to the positive, negative externalities at some point. So this could be we can simulate this exercise during 5 minutes. Imagine, so we come back to the ideas. Generally, we try to summarize, to cluster the ideas. Here you have different ideas about the design. The design could be modular, designed for resistance, to facilitate the long-term reuse, design the process to make repairable, to make the products repairable easily. You have also ideas regarding partnership. How can we map actors who could become partners? It was related to, I don't remember, it was the second card. For the reuse, yeah. Partners to make sure we can reuse, for instance, the scraps into different objects, etc. So you have different clusters of ideas, and then you try to think, okay, what is really important for us if we want to answer to this scenario? So what would you say? What is your feeling today? What should they change, this company, according to you? If they want to, the directors, they don't want to pay waste management cost. It's the meaning of this trigger scenario. They don't want to have to pay more waste management costs. Today, you don't pay waste management costs because this regulation is not yet in place, but in the future, it will become an additional cost if you don't change things. So what could you pitch to your director? What is the main idea that is driving your red thread in a way?
I can start if you want.
Yeah.
I was thinking that we should stay with the main direction, or the main strategy should be that we take the product back. Mm-hmm. And we manage the product life cycle. So basically, we go into this direction that we manage the entire product life cycle, and we combine this idea with the other strategies that we discussed until now. And we look also that this is not just about design or just about sales, but there are many other aspects of the business that we have to integrate in this approach. Mm-hmm. But the idea is to take the product back and return it into the market after maybe some small adjustments or something like this, and considering also the price in this strategy. So the price when you sell it, the price when you sell it the second time, the price that you sell it the third time. Mm-hmm. And you manage the entire life cycle considering all these aspects. And you integrate this thinking in your design phase so that your product can last for about 7, 8, 9 years. So you think already how much time your product should remain in the market, how many usages you should have in order to be also economical feasible. Mm-hmm. And then you couple this with your a strong relation with your clients, and presenting them the facts of this approach of you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
It's interesting. It's already very holistic. Thank you, Andrei. You imply... So maybe the others can bring complementary ideas. So your red thread would be to pitch a product take-back strategy, which takes into account obviously all the aspects of the life cycle of the products from the start, looking at different lives in advance. So the price strategy will also be here. So we are here. You will have a price strategy which is relevant to this life cycle thinking, product take-back thinking. So you link these aspects, revenues, to the next use, to the key activities mostly, and then the rest is also obviously implied. You create new value proposition by implying the customers in the process. The servicing is not appearing. So in the price strategy, I think you have it in mind also.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
Yeah, servicing should be also included.
Plus potential servicing as an option, huh?
Yes, sure. Of course, you have to think of materials, what kind of materials you will use, which are durable, and how you build the entire structure so that it can be easily dismantled.
Exactly. So from the design stage, huh? Over ID, so it gives you an idea only again. Huh? So what we try to do is to define what we call a catchy title, and at the end of the process, the ideal setting, let's say, for this kind of business game is to have two teams. One team is working with one scenario, another team is working either with the same scenario or another one. And then at the end of the process, they should pitch to each other. So one team is playing the board of director, and they challenge the ideas of the others. And the other team is presenting also his ideas, his red thread, and reversely. Huh? So it's really interesting to see the dynamic, because at the end of the process, the team become really creative. Sometimes they have a very catchy title, and they also have a logo sometimes, etc. So it's really interesting, the dynamic created through this interactive approach. And then obviously, if we had time, we could look at this strategy and challenge it and say, okay, if I apply this new operational principle to my business model, we don't enter yet into the detail how, but what could be the benefits and the risks in terms of business, for instance. So let's try. Huh? For you, I see potential benefits. It's that you have new revenue streams. So you have not only one kind of revenue stream, but different kinds of revenue streams. You also reuse the material several times, so it could generate more added value per unit of material if it's well designed and if it's the logistics, etc., is optimized. What do you see as potential business risks in this model, Andrei, for instance?
I can see the mentality could be one of the risks, the mentality of the users. Maybe some parents that one doesn't want to have used furniture or something, could be.
Yeah, exact. And then we do the same for instance, social aspects. This product take back, you didn't evoke donation or second life, which could also imply new partnerships, but it could also be the case in the new business model, for instance. So what could be the human, let's say, benefits or social benefits, if we want, of this new model? I see one advantage is that you, as you give different lives to the material, you have also different prices. So it means that you can serve maybe a broader range of families.
Exactly, with a product which is almost at the same quality.
Exactly.
So basically, what you will do, you will manage to expand the number of families who can beneficiate from a good product, which is not expensive, and it's a good one.
And circularity, obviously the model is completely revised from this perspective. Compared to the baseline, you have much more circularity, obviously, because you have several lives. You emphasize the usage phase, and at the end of the life, you also have a strategy. So this is really impactful, I would say, from the perspective of environmental impacts and circularity indicators, if we want. And in terms of, this is where generally we have the most of the challenges. This is the how. Is it really feasible? When we say technologies, it's not only technologies, it's more organizationally. What does it change? What are the impacts of our new business model? And here, most of the time, this is where we have the most of the risks, because it changes a lot of things in your business model. So it means that it's not so easy to implement. What could be, if you have to pitch this kind of disruptive ideas to your board of directors, what would you do to limit the perceived risk in terms of implementation? Because here generally we have the most of the questions coming from the other teams, which is playing the role of the board of directors. Are
one of the risks that I see in such a dramatic way of changing the business model is that there is not enough understanding about the possibilities of the companies. So basically, they don't understand if they have the possibilities right now to do it, and if they don't have it, what should they do in order to have it? So basically, to prepare themselves is not a change that they will do overnight.
Yeah.
Just to prepare themselves that they are not experts in this, and they basically reinvent the entire business and think about it seriously.
Yeah, interesting. So it's a bit of change management strategy.
Yeah.
Great. So I see that time is running. So just to show you maybe that other steps could be deployed in this kind of approach, obviously, but I wouldn't emphasize too much on it today, because then we enter into more project management phase, let's say usual project management, like tools like road mapping. Which stakeholder should we imply? This is also, we also have a sub part of the business game, which I really like. It's now that we have pitched an idea and we try to imagine how we start to initiate the change. There are overcards which guides you towards identifying all the stakeholders, and mostly the stakeholders who could be the one who don't want you to apply this kind of new ideas. So your enemy in a way, as well as your sponsors. So it's not only the actors of the projects, but only broader actors which could support you or hinder your ideas and development. So this is something that exists also, and then you have an action plan that you can use. So it's also designed to be done collectively. So this gives you an idea of the approach, very interactive, based on the collective intelligence. And as I said, you can use it already a lot. I can share again maybe 1 minute, and then it will be down. This one in the presentation I sent to Andrei, you also, I presented an example of a real project that was done by JC Deco applying this methodology. So they try to redesign the advertising panels. That they use a lot of elements to stick different subparts of the panels together. And they tried this, they used this challenge to explore new ideas and really activate it in an agile way, and these are pictures of the project. And at the end of the process, they redesign completely the way they produce these panels, and the way they stick the different parts together is not anymore something that you have to throw away at the end, but that you can reuse, basically. So it was a very specific topic, but they used the whole all tools of the business game to go towards testing it, prototyping it, and applying it on the field. So these were the tangible results of this approach for them. An example of impacts. And also the boards that you can download freely. If you want to test this approach, you don't necessarily need to have all the cards, etc. We can obviously support the network. As I told you at the starting point of this presentation, there is a full network of people using this business game. It becomes very well known now in many countries, and it's usable in different languages. I don't know if it exists in Romanian, I'm not sure, but in English for sure. And it can be usable in many contexts. So don't hesitate to use the board. At least according to me, it's something that is easy to raise awareness. And here you have an idea of the different tools that exist. This is the partner on the right side. At the bottom, you have the circular partners, which enables to identify the different partners that you require for your projects along the different steps of the value chain of your products. So this is only an example of different tools that exist. So I will stop here, I think, Andrei. I don't know if somebody has any questions.
Thank you very much. And I think what you presented today, it's really interesting.
Bine, mersi, trăiți.
I hear some
Ok,
voices.
bine, mulțumesc, trăiți.
It's probably because it's supposed to be finished.
Nu știu dacă ne aude domnul Ciprian, să-l rog să...
It's Ciprian, okay.
Thank you very much and for the session.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
The approach is really interesting, and it opens your eyes. By going through the cycles of questioning and going through the cycles of looking at the business from the perspectives of circularity, but putting them at the level of challenges and questions, I think it's more easy to address them, and it opens the mind to these new opportunities, and it gives you also a holistic perspective, which I think is more important. It gives you the perspective in which the activities are linked in your business model. It gives you the perspective on how your activities are linked with society and environment. And I think this is one of the most important aspects of the game, the holistic perspective. I liked it very much. Thank you.
Thank you to you. And I wish you all a nice event. I think it's not finished for you, huh?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's not. It lasts until 5:30, Andrei.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne, and we hear each other. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Anne. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Right, we would just like to invite you to the rest of the program for today. And we have just now starting with the introduction to circular business framework for building, developing and steering business in the circular economy. That is held in hall number 1. So you can just change your screen or go back to the main hall and actually select hall 1. On the other side, we also have a session on innovative solutions for cities. It's eco-living project and Movatile projects. So 2 of the projects that are focusing on urban solutions for circularity and innovation. We can again choose both halls, and thank you for participating and thank you for being ardent and active. See you in 1 of 2 halls.